Hello and welcome to the Last Word on Spurs. We are, of course, your multi-award winning Tottenham Hotspur podcast. We're back as Xavi Simons steals the show for Tottenham Hotspur and lights the touch paper for Thomas Frank's Tottenham. And for listeners and audio, I was wondering how long could TJ become a statue or stay a statue for TJ and for Xavi Simons to, like I say, hopefully light up Tottenham Hotspur season. If it was your very first time, you can find us. We're on iTunes, we're on Spotify, we're across all major audio platforms. Hit like, hit subscribe, hype to the show. Back alongside us, broadcast extraordinaire Russ Williams is here. He can't believe it. He's overseeing a home win. Yes, it's been that long. Actor TJ Ramini is back in the house, as is Marlon over at the Spurs Kings. And yes, he does smile as Tottenham do finally win a game again at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium in the Premier League for the first time since August. And what a performance. What a performance from Xavi Simons, who is involved in both the goals to help Spurs to a much-needed 3 points, a goal, an assist, and hopefully a sign of what is to come for Xavi in a Tottenham Hotspur shirt. Look, bit of a mystery as to why we don't keep more clean sheets, but that was the first one since Everton away on October the 23rd. I think we've got to say Romero, Mickey van der Ven, at times in that game were absolutely exceptional. They complemented each other, certainly in relation to that game itself. And what's also crazy is, for as bad as Tottenham have been in the Premier League this season, Tottenham currently up, to the dizzying heights of ninth. We're back into the top half, guys. Yes, we're back into the top half, and we're 3 points off fourth, despite how bad we have been. It's been a bizarre season to date. Arsenal losing, Tottenham winning. We can certainly enjoy our weekend for once, can we? Before we bring in these wonderful chaps, let's bring you in the match facts and the stats as it finished. Tottenham 2, Brentford 0. Tottenham, can't believe my eyes, double figures on shots, 15 of them to Brentford's 4. We had 7 shots on target, 1 for Brentford, and we did also register a shot in the first half because we scored. Shots inside the box, 9 for Tottenham to Brentford's 3. We had 24 touches in Brentford's box to the 17. Tottenham busier in terms of the recoveries, 59 to 48. Brentford the busier of the 2 keepers as well, 5 to 1. We edged the corner count, 7 to 6. Tottenham also shading possession at 53% to Brentford's 47%. And XG, God, we are going XG crazy. We're up to a secondary figure, 2.48 to Brentford, 0.33. Tottenham back on a winning run in the Premier League. Russ, let's open with you. Can't believe I'm saying this. Spurs win only at home for the second time this season. It's unbelievable when you think about that. Xavi Simons at rightly will take the plaudits for him. Yeah. A goal, an assist for the 52 million playmaker. He was excellent, as was Mo Kudus as well. I thought Archie Gray also had a really good display against Igor Thiago. I think the biggest shame for many out there is that Spurs did not score more in the second half. But look, 2 goals, a clean sheet, fairly encouraging. Russ, what do you make of it?
Yeah, absolutely. Could have been 3 or 4. Xavi is a number 10, and we saw him as a number 10 today, and that's where he needs to stay. A creative spark while we wait for the likes of Kulusevski and Maddison to come back. And, we invested a lot of money in this player, and you can't not play him a lot, as Frank has been doing. You've got to bite the bullet. He did it today. And Xavi repaid him and all of us in buckets and did the old RB Leipzig celebration, standing on the advertising hoardings in front of the fans. Great to see. I thought we looked like a team that was following orders. We had all the right players in the right places. I thought that we played with purpose, but still were pretty open at the back on a number of occasions. Brentford was simply awful. And, fair play to Mickey van der Ven. I thought he had another great game for us. Kudus was excellent as well. Archie Gray impressed. Bentancur looked less panicky. Jed Spence made some really good runs forward. Vicario made a couple of good saves, even though apparently he wants to leave because he doesn't like England. Believe that if you want to. And I just thought a clean sheet, 3 points, much needed. I actually thought that the result at Newcastle, which is a pretty difficult place to go to, was great, actually, in terms of the result. Although the first half we were dreadful, lot better today. And this, for a defensive coach or a defensive-minded coach like Thomas Frank, is the way Tottenham fans want to see their team play, with purpose, with skill, with daring, and scoring goals. And, he's going to learn, I'm sure. And I thought it was a really good performance. There won't be much of this talk about Frank's got to go, which was frankly ludicrous, in my opinion. And it's a question now of adding to a squad that, did finish 17th last season. There's no escaping that. So we need to get some new blood in. But people like Xavi have come in, and the money has been well spent. He will be a really, really good player for us. And I'm not a fan of Richarlison, but it was a really good finish. Xavi, of course, with the assist. But I think long term, Richie's probably run his race with the club. But we've got the issue now of January coming up, some difficult games before that on the way. See what we can do in the transfer window, which is difficult, and try and sell a few as well. But overall, a great performance today. And wasn't it a pleasure just to watch us a little bit like what we want us to be? And
Great.
the credit where credit is due, to the manager and the players. The only thing, Rick, that I did think was the fans still not very excitable in the stadium, or it doesn't sound like it. I wasn't actually at the game today. I'm going to the next
second half. I think second half definitely. I think the fans were a lot more upbeat.
I mean, I don't know whether we've sort of had the joy sucked out of us or something, and it's difficult to sort of get yourself up for it. But the players did their bit today.
Yeah.
And it would have hurt them being booed off, Rick, wouldn't it?
Absolutely.
We all know that. So I think that probably did some good. But let's get behind them. And, are we going to finish in the top four? Probably not. But this is much better football. And look, 3 points off fourth.
Yeah.
There you go. And as you said at the start of the show, Rick, finally, we haven't been great.
No.
And, to be there, still in with a shout, is pretty good. But the games are coming thick and fast. But well done today to everybody.
Yeah. I don't think you can grumble about the performance or the result that you said there, Russ. I thought it was a display actually coming out of you, TJ, that there was a lot of structure, there was a lot of organisation behind the way Spurs set up. And I think, look, like it's been, touted about Frank being a defensive-minded coach. I think if he takes anything away from that game, I mean, with all due respect to him, you don't need a Palina and a Bentancur at home. Tottenham's best way of playing, arguably, is on the front foot. And I mean, you mentioned there, Russ, about the crowd to bring TJ in. What I would say is I felt the crowd did drive the team on in the second half. And I think, again, when you take into account that was only Spurs' fourth home win of 2025, I think, TJ, we can understand why there may have been times where fans were slightly subdued in relation to the home, atmosphere, home game. What I would say is credit to the fans. There was a real big roar for Vicario before kickoff. And given what Vicario went through in the previous game, look, whether you like Vicario, whether you don't like Vicario, you feel Vicario is good enough or not good enough, that would have done the world of good. To get that big roar before kickoff was huge. But look, I think, again, you've got to take into account, we had 15 shots on goal, 7 on target. I mean, look, if you're averaging that over the course of a season or a game, you're going to hopefully win more than you lose. And you certainly have more chances, hopefully hitting the back of the net than what we have been. So, look, I mean, Tej, many will hope that is certainly going to be Xavi Simons' breakthrough moment, first goal for the club. But what I thought was really important? We were just much, much better in every department, from intensity to tackling to duels. We were first to the ball. We were first in every challenge. It looked like we wanted it more. And I think the thing, again, I'll go back to here, Tej, is that when you play like that, as you've often said, you're going to get fans on side. You're going to get positivity behind you. And you can see the players were also feeding off the way everyone was playing. I mean, everyone you've got to say out there was a 7 or 8 out of 10. And when you're going to be a 7 or 8 out of 10, you're going to win more games than you lose, Teach.
100%. Lovely to be back on the show, and thank goodness, to celebrate a well-deserved win, and actually 2-0 really flattered Brentford. I thought that could have been 4 or 5 today. We were absolutely electric. I've said this so many times, man, and I do believe that it's true that at every level of football, energy, impetus, effort wins you football matches. It just does. I must find out before the next time I'm on the show. Perhaps somebody could Google it, who's watching or listening. I can't remember which manager it was that said, but it was such a wonderful quote. You get these sort of really inspiring and humorous quotes from managers. And he said, if your heels hit your ass more than your opponents, you'll win the game. I can't remember who said that, so perhaps somebody could look it up and enlighten us. And right from the off as well, it was one of those games. To the viewers and listeners, Ricky and I were chatting yesterday before the game and saying that there's sort of this impending sense of doom and dread before we play. And I think, again, rightfully earned, because we have been put through the ringer for years. This isn't just last year. I mean, that's really flattering, Rick, or last season or the last manager. We've been suffering tremendously, especially at home, for a long time since we moved out of Wembley. The Tottenham Hotspur Stadium has never been close to a fortress. So there is this feeling of impending dread, which we deserve to feel that way. We're nervous. We love our team. We want to support them. But that relationship starts with what we see on the pitch, and then we react. And listen, no one out there can tell me, whenever I'm home, I always go to at least one game. Whenever I'm home, I would go with my brother or one of my best friends. I often see you boys there, and it's such a treat, right? And I see all the people in the street, and I get a lot of love, and I try to give it back. I love my Tottenham community. And so before every game, there's a great energy and a great spirit and a great impetus. It's up to the players to at least come and equal that, if not better that. And so from the first whistle today, boom. And how many years have we been asking for that? Just come flying out of the blocks, whichever analogy you want to use. And we did. And to Brother Russ's point, and, Russ's his feelings are often so similar to mine. Richarlison, no, he's not the answer. But he didn't stop running from the first whistle to the last. He was everywhere, man. He was part of every attack, part of every defense. Towards the end of the game, they had an attack come down the left wing, and he absolutely hammered his way back and defended it. And then he turned around and it went out for a corner. I think he turned around and shouted at Sarr, who'd only just come on. Like, that's what we want, man. We want every player locked in, focused, committed to this team, to the badge and to the fans. And then we will reciprocate. And we did. And in defense of the fans, Phil McNutty at the BBC said there was a fantastic atmosphere at the stadium today before Xavi scored. So well done to all the fans. Lovely to be back on the show. We are going to put smiles on faces today, ladies and gentlemen, I promise you.
Teach, love that. Well done. We got a Marlon next. Hold on. Smiles on faces. Marlon's smiling. Marlon is smiling, can I just say. Look, Marlon's coming over to you. It did feel more balanced 11. It did feel that the players were being allowed to play to their strengths to some degree. And I think that performance is everything about what we wanted to see about Spurs, right? It just felt everyone was a lot more happier on the pitch. I'm not sure whether it felt that it was some kind of discussion beforehand, because it did feel that everybody looked, as Russ said, a lot more comfortable in their positions. They looked a lot more comfortable structurally, organised. And look, we've been waiting, haven't we, Miles, for a moment this season to think, right, is that the moment? And look, it might only be Brentford, but certainly intensity and urgency was there in that game. And it was an excellent team performance too, filled of so many good individual displays. But for me personally, I thought, along with Xavi, Gray, Spence, Mawani, Van der Ven, Richie Kudus, I thought they were all very, very good in particular. We know Xavi was still the headlines, but Miles, thoughts overall on that 2-0 win at home? Even I can't believe that, saying it. At home, yes, we got a 2-0 win.
Well, first of all, I always have to start off. When he plays well, I have to give him props, because I have slated him for a year now. But I'm going to have to say Archie Gray, for me, played really well today. But I've always said that I've always wanted him to play in that, not what we call the number 8 centre midfielder role, where he doesn't have to defend, because I think he's so much better on the ball. And I thought today he's what helped Xavi, because he was always looking forward and always looking for Xavi in that space. So which meant Xavi could be run free and do what he needed to do. And that's why I think we saw better Xavi today, because there was a player in the middle of the park. Well, there's two of them, to be fair, with Bentancur as well, but there was another player in the park that could actually pass the ball. And that's the one thing I've always said that is a good thing about Archie Gray. He's neat, he's tidy, but he knows how to. He's probably one of the best passers when he's actually on the ball. My problem was always when he was off the ball. So big props to him, because because I've slated him more than I've ever given him props. I have to give him props when he does it. Like I'm not gonna shy away from it. I have to do it. But as the team goes, look, it was a good performance. It was a better performance than we've had in the last previous weeks. I can't complain. The first half, I thought we were just a bit more aggressive. I thought completely in this game today, and that's the bit that we've been missing. I think I said on after the Newcastle game, it wasn't about the performance. It was going to be more about the result. But actually, when you look at the whole perception of today's game, the result was important, but actually there was a performance to go with it. And I think that was so important to the way the fans and everyone is now feeling about today and after this game. And we're like, okay, it looks like the tide is turning a little bit. Because you said earlier about is he starting to see what the right team is? Because the one key thing that he did today that I completely forgot about, Mawani was playing off the left and he put Richarlison up front. He's not really done that. He usually put the two of them up the top together, but he played Mawani on the left, and it seemed Mawani just seemed a bit more comfortable, and so did Richarlison, and they weren't getting in each other's way. And then Kudos was coming inside for the first 15 minutes, and then I think there was a bit of change where they said, actually, let Porro come inside and let Kudos go out wide, because he had left back. He was beating his left back every time. I think Rico Henry every time that he could get. So many positives to take from it. I think the other thing that we also saw today was we were creating stuff, and I think this has been the biggest problem that all of us have had. Look, a lot of us said, the players are not good enough, they're not this, that, and the other. But the one thing that's always been my gripe with Frank was, yeah, they might not be good enough, but we shouldn't be down there where we're creating the same as Wolves and Burnley and those. We've got better players than them, no matter what people want to say. We have. And today we saw something different. Maybe it's because he changed up the midfield. Xavi was able to see in that first half. It was becoming that point where I was like, this could be £60 million worth, well spent. But again, I'm not going to get overexcited. You know me. I am going to keep my head grounded, because I said, this is just one game. And it was good to see him in that role. But also, I think the players around him made sure that he thrived today. And I think that's the big key. But the only thing I'd say about it all, the one thing that was concerning for me was, because this is Brentford, and when I say it like this is a team that Thomas Frank knows inside and out. And for the first time, I felt today that with Frank, it wasn't about the way that Brentford played like we have had in previous games where we dictate everything. It was about actually, he knew how they played, and he wanted Spurs to go out and do certain things. And it just meant that we were able to do it today because he wasn't thinking about the other team. Because he knew, he probably went through from Wednesday when they were preparing for this and gone, just stop this, that, and the other, and we'll be fine. And I've noticed a lot today, there weren't many shots from outside the box. Yep. Brentford were trying to come in from the wings, which helped us out a little bit.
Yep. I think that's a really important point you make there, Miles, because I think there's no doubt about it. We've said it for a number of weeks that I think our biggest concern with Frank is that it felt, certainly for a lot of the season so far in terms of who we've played, we've been so absolutely, obsessed by the opposition in terms of what they're going to do. We've actually forgotten about ourselves. And I think that's the one thing I would agree with you on in terms of this game for me, that I don't think at any point in that game we were caring whatsoever what Brentford were going to do to us. It was what we was going to do to Brentford. And that's why you actually saw that, I think, in the players, the way they in that game responded, there was a lot more urgency and intensity, certainly from Jed Spence to bomb up the wing. I think you saw players like Archie Gray not being scared to carry the ball forward. I thought Bentancur in terms of what he does there, definitely served the purpose. I thought Kudus also was very, very good in terms of, I think his performance. It's funny because I can see Kudus is actually getting a bit of a mixed bag in terms of what fans are thinking on the back of that game in terms of the comment section here on this show. But I thought that was a really, really good display. And I'll go back to what I said at the start of the show. For someone that, Frank is being touted as being a defensive-minded, cautious manager, what this display should show him is that Tottenham, in general, are a team that play a lot better when they've got possession of the ball, that are looking to create chances, rather than a side that are sitting there playing on the counter-attack. I'm not saying that tactic will work every single week away from home, but certainly at home, that's the way of getting the fans up and with them, like TJ said, Phil McNulty said earlier. And in relation to Xavi Simons, look, I think, that's the one thing I've been really frustrated about with Frank in terms of Xavi's, if you want to call it misuse or non-selection. I mean, what was it? It was he's missed the last four, I say missed the last, but he's not started the last 4 games. And look, I think he's a player that certainly you can see is getting better. There's movement, there's ability to find space in there. He's not afraid to try the hard pass. It goes back to what Frank said, in his first presser, that, sometimes not taking a risk is as big as taking a risk. And that's a great thing with Xavi. He's not afraid to take risks and run with the ball. And that was building on the performances like Copenhagen and Manchester United. So look, I think people need to remember that I judged him early. Luka Modric had a very, very slow start to his Spurs career. I'm not saying Xavi Simons is going to be the next Luka Modric. I'm just saying that players have to start from somewhere and have to be given games. Russ, to come on to that point that Marlon made there, Frank has been under a lot of pressure. I think it's fair to say that had we not beaten Brentford or not put in a performance, certainly there would have been alarm bells ringing inside the Spurs fan base. And look, I think that midweek draw against Newcastle, I think you said it showed resilience. We've been excellent in that game against Brentford. It was only our second time we've won the top flight this season at home. The biggest thing for me is I think we looked a lot more fluid. Maguire linking up well with Jed Spence on the left-hand side. Kudus twisted and turning defenders inside out. Simmons having a central role that I think he's been craving to have since he's come to the club and causing Brentford across the pitch a lot of problems. Where are you now on Thomas Frank on the back of that result? Where are you?
Well, I tell you, I think compared to the previous manager, he does a lot more work on the training pitch as opposed to in the technical area. But I think he's had to learn pretty quickly about the ethics of this club and what is expected. Forget about, we haven't won that much in over a number of years. Last season, as we know, was a blessed relief and a moment of celebration. In fact, several moments of celebration. And I think he's trying to work out really how he can adapt himself to dare is to do, if you like, to use a recognizable cliche. But I think what we have to expect from him is to identify his best 11, and continuity works in football. And he's got to pick his best 11, injuries permitting, and play them again and again and again. And one thing that I thought was extremely noticeable today, they had been sent out to play in a different way. We all saw that, and actually we all liked it. We didn't give away the ball hardly at all today, which has been one of the huge sins for me in, most of the season, really. I mean, everyone seemed to know where everyone was. People were moving, passing and moving. Xavi excelled for most of the game, as did other players, because they get confidence when it starts to go right. But when they're confused and they don't know who their teammates are going to be from one game to the next, I know it sounds simplistic, but I do think he's got to try and work out what his best 11 is, whoever we're playing, and stick to the way that we want to play, which we all want it to be on the front foot. And I think we've got to accept that if he can do that, then we're going to have to go with it until the reinforcements come in, until the end of the season. The only thing that I would like us to do more, and maybe when he gets his trusted first 11 and instills his tactics for those players in his mind, is press a bit more. When we look back under Pochettino, we were the kings of pressers, weren't we? I mean, we were a bloody good football team as well. But I think he needs to press, know when to press, and that is when you haven't got the ball. And I think he's got to press himself, the owners, and the people who run the football club, to improve the squad, because we'll come back to it again. We did finish 17th in the Premier League last season, and that tells you that the squad is nowhere near as good as a lot of other squads in the Premier League in terms of balance. So we've seen a little bit of balance today.
Yep.
We'll take the clean sheet, we'll take the win, and Thomas Frank, the next 5 or 6 months for him are going to be very, very important. But give us a starting 11. is what I would say, and stick to it.
Yeah, I think it's what's also key, Tej, is that, as Frank, Russ has alluded to there a couple of times already, is Frank has said openly it feels he doesn't know his best team at the moment. And, you know, what we're match day 15 in the Premier League. He's had, 20-odd games in charge, if you include the League Cup and the Champions League as well. Just how important is that, Tej, in his next few weeks, that he gets to the point of understanding if there is a best 11? All I would say for me is I think now when you look back at the midweek game against Newcastle, again, I know there were some fans unhappy. I think you go get a new point up at Newcastle, never an easy place to go. But I thought when you look back at that now, he actually really rotated ever so well the 2 games, right? We've come away with 4 points out the 2. This was a really, really good performance. I do take into account what Marlon said. You know, we know Brentford more than any other Premier League team or any team really Tottenham would play because of how long he's been at Brentford. But do you think that result does ease the noise and the pressure on Thomas Frank? It's early days still. You know, he's been here, 4 or 5 months. Where are you, Tej, on that gauge of pressure on Frank on the back of that win?
I mean, I think that's unequivocal, isn't it? You know, I mean, that's an objective opinion. It's not even subjective. I was talking to one of my mates earlier today, and I think that one of the reasons why we did come flying out of the blocks today, and why we showed such great spirit from first whistle to last, and I agree with Russ as well. I mean, listen, there's a lot more to go with pressing and, you know, quality and all that kind of thing, squad depth, 100%. However, you know, let's look at today. I think one of the reasons for that is because Frank is under immense pressure right now. We've talked about this hundreds of times already. He's under pressure that he's never faced before, a level of scrutiny that he's never faced before. Again, if you drop your pencil in a Tottenham conference, it's going to be on every newspaper in the world. You could go into a Brentford conference, no disrespect to Brentford, and let one rip during a press conference, and it might, you know, do a round on social media, and that would be it. And so I think today we were given the team that we needed at a time that we needed them in a stadium where we needed them. Yes, of course, he knows the opposition like the back of his hand. But to me personally, and I don't know if I'm right or wrong, this is absolutely a subjective opinion, is that I think he had an extra level of hunger and eagerness himself, because the level of abuse that he would have gotten and the level of humiliation he would have suffered getting turned over by his old team at the home of his new team was quite too much for him personally to bear. So whatever it was that gave him that extra level of fire and passion, we've already talked about before, he's quite a cool temperamented person. And okay, that's fine. You know, not everybody is the same. But again, for Tottenham, we respond to fire and passion. We all remember, you know, Pochettino on the line. You know, he looked like he was giving birth most games, you know, on the sideline. And we are a club that feeds off that. The players feed off that. Also, they're a young team. Show leadership, show passion and courage. And he did that today. Ricky, you've said it right from the start, man. And listen, you've got the best Tottenham podcast in the world. Everybody knows that. On all the awards and everything will show that, right? We're not a team that plays with a handbrake on. We're just not that team. If you want to coach that team, there's plenty of others, not Tottenham. And so today what I saw as well, which delighted me, and I said on the last show, I'm yet to see it. Where are those quick little passes and the triangles that all the top pro teams can do? We don't seem to be doing that until today. It wasn't just get it out to the wings and lump it into the box and see what we can do. They couldn't get a touch on the ball. To Russ's point, we didn't give it away because all our passes and everything was so intricate and precise. And that's how a top team plays. Everybody will know who knows me from the show or knows me from socials or even knows me, you know, really in my personal life. I can't stand the whole huge club Tottenham thing if you don't behave like a big club, a huge club. Today we looked like we can play like one of the best clubs.
Yeah.
We were talking about the Villa-Arsenal game earlier. Oof, what a game.
Yep.
And I'm saying to my Villa friends over here, what a side, man. And obviously delighted that they put them to the sword last minute. So I want to start seeing us play like that a little bit. And today we got it. So I'm really pleased, man.
Spot on, Tej. Spot on. I mean, look, Miles, coming over you on that point, you know, the home record we know is still awful. That was only our full victory over the last 22 games. But I think what I'm hoping is going to now bring momentum our way. Am I right in saying, Martin, you tell me if I'm wrong, probably only maybe the second time this season we've seen back-to-back performances. Forget the results, performances. I thought we did put in a dogged fight in the second half against Newcastle. Probably I'm wrong in saying the whole game because the first half weren't great. But what I saw about that Brentford game was there was a consistency to the way we played. Like I keep on mentioning, we were first to duels. We were first to kind of 50-50s. We were playing with energy, desire, hunger. Look, I mean, I have to say, these are words that I'm using that really should be base minimum. You know, I shouldn't really be having to expect to ask for hunger, desire, intensity. But it feels like sometimes you're having to ask for that, which is a crazy, crazy thing. But do you think, Miles, and I know you don't like getting carried away on here, could that be the moment where you think, right, that's now a foundation to build on? Like we said about the second half against Newcastle, that has to be the level, and we can't drop from that. Because I think TJ said a really important thing there. We did look like the bigger side against Brentford. We did look like the more dominant side. We looked like Tottenham. We didn't like Brentford, right? I think that was really important about how this game was going to shape out. The fact Tottenham would come out of that game looking like Tottenham, and with all due respect to Brentford, not Brentford.
Yeah, look, probably, I think that's the first two games in a while. When I say in a while, when I look at Burnley and Manchester City, is probably our best two games that we've had back to back. And then this will be the next one along, because Newcastle, like you said, we weren't great in the first half, but we managed to pick it up in the second. And today, all round was great. And I think when you look at how we are as a team, I think we need more consistency. We need to basically bring what we're doing in the league and start bringing up a momentum over the next few weeks. But look, I'm happy to see these performances, and if we could start, what's the word? If we can start producing some of the aggressiveness that we had today, and this is what we're going to see from now on, then I think a lot more fans will be happy. I think everyone will be going to Tottenham Hotspur Stadium and be going, do you know what? I know I'm going to see today. I'm going to see aggressiveness, because I think after we scored the first goal, I think doubt went in everyone's head. You know, that PTSD of, is this going to be Spurs again? But look, we've got two games this week that could really show us where we're going to be progressing over the next few weeks, which is obviously against Slavia Prague and Nottingham Forest. And Nottingham Forest today had a stinker. So look, we've got to go there and produce, because these two teams, for us and how we look at it as Spurs fans, we should be going there. Hopefully we should be beating Slavia Prague. I'm saying hoping. I'm not going to sit there and get carried away. And I'm hoping that if we put in a performance against Forest, and the way we have been away from home, because this is the other thing that I have to remember, we've only really lost one away game in the Premier League. So we are actually quite decent away from home.
We are indeed. We are.
And so for me, look, if we can come out of it unscathed, I think what will happen, especially when we start doing these podcasts, is that we'll start seeing a more positive reaction from everybody, and everyone will start going, actually, this is where we thought we were going to be 3 or 4 months ago, but we are now here now, and start seeing the progression going forward. Obviously, we've got Liverpool as well in a couple of weeks, and then having a torrid time. And if we could, that could be the game that everyone's going to be looking, Dr. Tottenham.
Exactly.
But however, if we manage to go out there and produce, if we manage to do the aggressiveness that we did today, Liverpool will cave. I tell you that now, for the way Liverpool
play. You can see that this season. You can see that.
They have got doubt in their head there, and whereas we at the moment just need to start playing. And I think if Frank has seen anything from today, he can basically carry this on going forward, and we can start smiling again. And that's the thing. Even I want to get carried away. You know I do. I personally know I will. I want to get carried away, but I'll always be level-headed.
Even though we never see Marlon get carried on the show, he does want to get carried away. I
want to get carried away. I want to be the ones going, we're going to win this, we're going to do that, and we're going to, and be confident again. But of course, obviously, there's always that itching doubt in my head that goes, are Tottenham going to be Tottenham? But Thomas Frank's got to change that.
Absolutely, spot on.
And he's got the players. Look, the players are starting to become available. I think I saw Solanke in pictures this week as well. So hopefully he will be available. I know Mawani might be injured from what they're saying.
Yeah.
But again, until we hear the news, but Doggy obviously being injured hasn't helped. So we're still going through this merry-go-round of injuries as well. And look, I'm willing to give Frank time. Yeah, pissed me off the last few weeks. I'm not going to lie.
Listen, he's pissed a lot of fans off. You know, the performance against Arsenal and Chelsea are very hard for fans to stomach.
Yeah.
And then to try and win fans back. I mean, you've lost two of the biggest derbies, if not the biggest derbies of the season, with the manner on of the performances put on.
Yeah, and the thing is, if you include the first half against West Ham as well, like people have kind of forgot about how bad we were against West Ham in that first half. And I think those are the 3 games as Spurs fans. They're the ones just putting a performance.
Yep.
West Ham, we should be beating. That's how Spurs fans will look at it. But the other 2 games, just go and put in a performance, and we will forgive you later, even if we lose 1-0 or 2-0. But if we see some heart, and I think that's all it is right now. I think a lot of Spurs fans want to see some heart, a lot of passion, and we just want to see chances created. I think that's the big thing. We don't want to be going into these games going, I hate XG, but even I've come on the XG train because of how bad it's been the last month or so. Today to have 2.48 is the best we've had in weeks. That just shows you the performance today. And I think Frank hopefully has seen that formula and will now take it forward. And he's, also, like you said, he's got to take risks.
Yeah. And also on that, actually, to limit Brentford to 0.33 XG is also very good. Because again, what we've done there is we've stifled the opposition and we've had a really good attacking display. Look, let's hear from the Dane and let's hear what he's made of it. And we're going to hear from Thomas Frank. Before we do, guys, thanks so much to over the 3,500 that are watching us live. If you can, for us, like, hype, subscribe to the show. If you hit that subscribe button, that also allows you to interact with the chat. I did promise Russ, we are working to get voice notes into the show. I'm going to be honest with you. The only reason why we didn't bring him into this show is we were slightly concerned it could have been a difficult display. And just for fair balance, me and Russ were messaging during the week, and we was a little concerned about where this game would go. So forgive us, it was going to be X-rated language. And as we know, Tej will monitor those voice notes coming through very, very carefully before they do come on air. But let's hear from Thomas Frank, who reacts to Spurs beating Brentford at home. Yes, at home with a home win. Let's hear from Thomas Frank.
Just what you and the team needed, a kind of really vibrant attacking display.
Yeah, I think so. Sometimes you work hard on things and sometimes it just suddenly click. I said before, the team has been a little bit out of sync in some stages. Today, a lot more players were on the same page at the same time throughout the game. I think we looked such a threat going forward. Great chances, played with pace, tempo, I think penetration, unpredictable. So I like that. It's everything we'd like to be, but also being aggressive in the pressure. And I still have that clean sheet mentality. We're giving four shots away, which is very good against a Brentford team we know is very difficult to handle when they play behind, and their directness and their set pieces. So overall, just a complete performance, I would say.
Could that be the breakthrough performance for Xavi as well for you?
Yeah, definitely. I think every player need that extra good performance. So happy for him. He's been working very hard. He's a top pro. He's so determined. He wanted so badly in every aspect of his game, and it's just a little bit of adaptation. Also that the team a little bit out of sync, and now it was more. Also, for example, let's say Kudos after a great start, little dip because of the little injury, a lot more better today. Xavi is in a good place, Cole is in a better place, Richie. So just everything just coming more and more together. So now we need to build on it.
And just a quick one, no Destiny today. What's his injury?
Got a soft tissue injury, unfortunately, against Newcastle.
Would it keep him out long?
Not too long. Not too long, yeah.
Thank you, George.
Quite interesting to see Thiago, a player that you signed yourself, but the Spurs defence dealt very, very confidently with him. So you must have found that quite an interesting thing to see, because you obviously know him well, having signed him for Brentford.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say that I know all the players in Brentford well, except the 2 or 3 they signed this summer. So there was, in many ways, very special to meet them. It was nice to see familiar faces. You always want to have more time before and after. There had to be, if it was not a draw, there had to be a loser, and then everyone is competitive. So it was very nice to see people. I see them there. Yeah.
George. Hi, Thomas. Did you feel Xavi was kind of building up to that, and How kind of important can it be for him to get that first goal? Because a new signing always wants that first goal to kind of get that monkey off the back.
Exactly. I think every player need that extra bit of confidence, and that comes from his performance, the team's performance, and I think that assist and the goal, I think gave him that extra bit of how can I say, lightness in his step or and his touches and everything. So for him was also an all-round very good performance.
And Archie Gray's performance won't sort of make headlines, but you put him in again, and it felt like he was really good against Mikkel Damsgaard. How kind of pleased were you to sort of put him in after last Saturday's difficult performance and to see him kind of flourish?
Yeah, I think he did well. I must say, that there was a few others shined maybe more. But for example, when Jet Spence was bombarding forward, he was very disciplined, young age, to be there on that side, taking care of that rest defending position. I think he handled all the tricky situations with the ball, got out of it. It was always a good support, and he covered ground and very well. So I think it was you said a very solid performance.
Hi, Thomas. There seemed a much better mood at half-time. Obviously, you were 2-0 up, but it was quite notable.
That helps a little bit.
That helps. But it was noticeable around where we were sitting that the
Say again, sorry.
It was noticeable where we were sitting that the fans really responded to that, and almost like there was I don't know if you sensed it, a conscious effort on their part to do it.
The Spurs fans are great fans, and sometimes there's ups, sometimes there's downs in football and life. But I like how the team responded. I like how the whole stadium, the fans, how could I say, responded. And I noticed, maybe it was me, but I noticed when Vicario's name was shouted up, I think extra high, raw, and I love that. That makes me warm inside, because that's where you support your player, because they should, no one, how can you say, talking bad about our players. The fans should feel like that. No one. They should protect them. And I think today there was a fantastic energy between both the team and the fans.
Jay.
Hey Thomas, congrats on the win. Have you said anything to Xavi in the dressing room after the game?
Yeah, I said, what did I say? I said, well done. Really great response. Good performance.
I have another question about Xavi for you. But that second goal, I think he starts in his own half. How helpful, how good is it to have a player like that who can, in tight games, I'm not saying this was a tight game, but in general, just produce a moment like that out of nothing?
Yeah. Well, that's what I believe from the beginning, that Xavi can produce that out of nothing. And we say, everything just need a little bit of adaptation sometimes with everything, him, the team, everything. And this was a very good step. Now it's the next thing to do it again and again and again. But yeah, very happy for him.
Chuck.
Thomas, it'll always be nice to get a win, but is there any greater sense of relief knowing the sort of noise there would have been had you lost to your former club?
I didn't, very happy with the win. I think that's the most important thing. We use enough time on thoughts that we can't do anything about. So now I'm just very happy. I think we built on a good Newcastle performance as well. And today, what I would say, I was just extremely happy with the offensive performance. Just looked more right today.
And you mentioned building on things. Is that the message now, that especially offensively, that this is sort of the standard? We know you can do this now.
Yeah, that is the standard. Sometimes there's more tight games, as we know, but I like what I saw from the team, and that's what we need to build on and try to become even better.
Just behind as well, yeah.
Thomas,
yeah.
Did it help that you knew so much about the Brentford team, set pieces, that type of thing, that you were able to set up to really dominate the game?
Yeah, but I've been in this league for this is the 5th season, so I know very well Pep Guardiola's City team, for example. But of course, he had some inside-out information of some of the players. So I think it was like a normal preparation, just with small extra information bits on some players.
And have you had a chat with Keith Andrews at all, or had the job at the job he's doing?
Yeah, in general, we had a few talks through the last 4 months, but today I hope we have a beer or glass of red now after.
Hi Thomas, a first league win since the opening day at home. How important is that going forward to make this place a harder place for teams to come now?
It's hugely important. Hugely important that we won home, but also the performance. We need to keep building on it.
We'll just finish up down here. Just one down there, please.
Here?
Microphone down there. Thank you.
Thomas, you said you thought the attack looked more right. Is it about connections, understanding? What was it in particular that you were admiring of?
Yeah, I think, a few things. We worked very hard on the structure, how we want the structure to be, with which position we wanted for, let's say, Xavi and Mo and Richie and Kolo, and also the two sitters, and how we pushed Jet a little bit higher. That, and then I think more of the players were more in form, sharper together. All that, I think, helped today.
Did you know that was going to come? Did you see that in training? Or?
Yeah, to be fair, I thought we had a very good training yesterday. I think just looked, again, more right. I think the team in general on paper looked right today.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys.
Cheers, guys. Cheers.
So there you go. That was Thomas Frank there on the back of Tottenham Hotspur, sweeping aside Brentford at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium by 2-0. I'm still getting over the fact we won at home. Forgive me. We're joined by, I know, it's been one of those seasons, isn't it? We're joined by actor TJ Ramini. We're joined by broadcaster Russ Williams. I thought even Russ was so surprised that we won at home. He had to go back off screen and double check the result and come back. We're also joined by Marlon over at the Spurs Kings. Guys, if you want to get involved in the interactive chat, you just need to hit that subscribe button. That will let you in. If not, you can refresh to do so. Keep hyping, keep liking, subscribing to the show. That'll be greatly appreciated. We've heard from Thomas Frank there. He actually asked the question that Marlon brought up during the show. Was it the fact he knew Brentford really, really well that helped us get a result? He said, look, it was a really good performance. I think, look, we're building on something there. A lot more of a relaxed Thomas Frank in the press conference. That's certainly for sure. Let's bring everybody up to speed in terms of the team and just where we are right now, because we are currently having players drop like flies. And if anybody is watching can see Russ Williams' face, that is reflective of what the audience are looking like right now, with Russ's face as the mirror to that. Team-wise for this one, Tottenham, we did make a number of changes for the game. We finally saw Xavi Simons back in the role of what looked like to be a number 10. He missed the last 4 before this one. We had Rodrigo Bentancur and Archie Gray in the midfield. Mickey van der Ven and João Palhinha, of course, were given a rest on the Tuesday night, but only Simons came back in. Spence started, of course. Destiny Udogie was apparently potentially due to play, but was limping late in midweek. And Frank did say before the game he thought he was fine. I mean, this is typical Tottenham, really, with regards to Xavi Simons, because Frank thought he was fine after the Newcastle game. He then did a Puma event, I think, on the Thursday and said he should be absolutely fine. And he was out of the team come the Saturday. So that's not Spursy, then really what is. And I hate using that word Spursy, as everyone knows out there. So look, team-wise, it read Vicario, Porro, Romero, Van der Ven, Spence, Gray, Bentancur, Xavi, Kudus, Colomawani, Richarlison. Then the bench was Kinski, Danzo, Palhinha, Tell, Bergvall, Johnson, Odegaard, Sarr, Davis. I also need to let you know, for those that are not aware of this, that Rando Colomawani was seen limping through the mix zone after the game. He was seen moving gingerly before he was subbed. So it's a concern for Spurs based on the fact that Colomawani has played really well in the last few games and been pretty selfless for the team. You know, I think it's funny, isn't it? Perception was with Mawani. He might be quite a selfish forward, but he's been anything but that. So we'll hope that's not too much of a big concern. But this is the same man at the moment, Thomas Frank, that is refusing to give a time frame on either Dejan Kulusevski and Dominic Solanke right now. So trying to get anything out of Thomas Frank with regards to team news, you're not going to get much. But like we said, I think the good thing, Russ, about that way we started that game is we looked a lot brighter. We looked more progressive with the ball than we had been really for a lot of the games in the season. And just the fact, we saw Xavi adding an effort off the, over the crossbar in the first kind of 25 minutes or so, was giving you confidence that we were going to see a bit more of an attacking display, Russ.
Yeah, and I think Palhinha on the bench and not in that sort of pivot with Bentancur gave us a bit more positivity, and Archie Gray did all the simple things really well. And I think long-term going forward, he's going to be one hell of a player, actually, Archie Gray. I mean, those were the only two people on the bench, I thought, who could have gone into the starting 11 today. Polina, if he was going to play that pivot, and Bergvall instead of Archie Gray. But I thought that when I saw that team line up, I got what formation, or I thought I did, we were going to play. I had my fingers crossed, Rick, like all of us, that it was going to perhaps be a better home performance, because they've been sadly lacking since we beat Burnley on the first home game of the season. And I just thought all round it worked pretty well. And the players looked a lot more confident in what they were doing, because they were all sitting in the round holes where they should be.
Yeah.
I don't think now is a time to go into the, if you like, the quality, is the quality of so-and-so good enough for where we want to be. We're just going to take this result and build on it, as Marlon so beautifully put it, over the next 2 or 3 games. And when we come to play Liverpool at home, play anywhere near like that. And Leeds showed the way again, against them today. And we will be okay. And, my one great fear is with our managerial record that unless Thomas Frank gets sacked, if he actually one day, after doing really well with us and said, well, I'm leaving, I'm going to a bigger club, then the owners would have failed us and Thomas Frank and the football club, because they've got an opportunity now, because Daniel Levy, the hands on the purse strings, the public hands on the purse strings has gone. And they really have to show some backing for a manager and change the bloody habits of a lifetime.
Agree.
And, he could turn out, Thomas Frank, to be one of the best things that's ever happened to the football club. And the doubters have just got to, calm down, think of your Christmas drinks with your workmates and what have you, having time with your family over Christmas. Yes, we might not lose. Win every game.
You mean all those games every 3 days?
Stick with it, and we'll see where we go. For me, it's a lot better than what we were watching last season. So to a point, I'm pretty happy. And he's a likable guy, but he's a very technical guy.
Yes,
and I like listening to him speak. And he does look a bit tired, though, don't you think? He looks
he's the Spurs manager, but he's only been there 6 months.
Yeah, but look, he's been with us 4 or 5 months. Captain Scarlett down the roads have 5 years and hundreds of millions of pounds. To sort himself out and get to a position where who knows what they'll do. It was a great result today, wasn't it? If you're a Villa fan, but. The long and the short of it is, calm down. Let's just stick with it.
It's funny because I've heard some of his press conferences described as a word salad, and it's funny because
as what?
As a word salad. What? So it's like a lot of words.
Frank?
Yeah.
No, that was last season.
The thing is, I think in general, because he is, Russ, to go back to you, he's quite technical. I've seen some fans say, I can't watch, 15 minutes of this kind of every week. And it's only if people are watching Last Word on Spurs, they'll have to watch the press conferences. We show the post-match ones. I mean, I like him. The hard thing is, I think it's very difficult to dislike Thomas Frank. I think he's a really likable guy. Whether he's right for us in the long term, I think that's obviously to have to wait and see. I keep going back to the point, and you said it, Russ, and again, it's probably not a discussion for this show, but a wider show, that he hasn't really got a squad, I think, good enough in a lot of areas. So there's a lot of work to be done, 100%, Russ, if we're going to get that squad to the level or it needs to be. He had Damsgaard last season, and I think people forget this. Damsgaard didn't start every game for Frank, when he first came in. Like Xavi, he was almost slowly brought into the team, right? Slowly brought into the team. But I think the good thing is, going back to your TJ, in that first half, we have a Xavi effort that goes over the crossbar. You have Mickey van der Ven have an opportunity. Yes, you had that maybe concerning sign that Collins played in behind. Igor Thiago ran onto a near post effort that was parried by Vicario. But the great thing was that we were having chances. And can I get a klaxon, please? We had a first half shot on target, and Richarlison was on the end of it. And you know what? For as much as we keep saying on here that Richarlison isn't up to the level and we'd sell him in January, Richarlison has now scored 4 goals in his last 6 games, Teach. And you actually said it, in your intro of the show. He worked bloody hard for the team, didn't he? Really hard for the team.
Absolutely, he did. And again, I mean, I've said this before as well, and not to sort of pass myself off as some wise sage. Anyone who's watched this game, anyone who's played this game, effort can plug the gaps where your talent might be wanting. It really can, and he is the personification of that. Is he the most talented or gifted striker or goal scorer out there? Certainly not. But when he puts in effort like he did today, rather than strolling about and moping like some mewling teenager, he's really effective. That's why, certainly for me, and I think a number of Tottenham fans, we find him quite so infuriating. I think we can accept where his level of ability is. It's just his level of application that is often found wanting. There's nothing makes my blood boil hotter than seeing somebody who's paid enormous amounts of money to do. I believe football is one of the greatest things that human beings have ever created. It is the most followed thing we have ever done. It's bigger than any religion, bigger than any band, any actor, anything. More people are infatuated with this game than anything else we have ever created. So if you get the opportunity to play that at a professional level and earn millions upon millions of pounds, for goodness sake, don't strop about the pitch like your mum's just taken your lunch money away. And so what he showed us today is what effort and application can bring you. And again, yes, of course, it's a tap in. But again, not to sound like a wise sage, everybody knows this. You have to put yourself in that position, stay on side, and then not blaze it over the bar. Remember, that's on his left foot, right? We've all shanked those. My goodness. Keep your eye on the ball, keep your head down, make sure your chest is over the ball and put it into the back of the net. And he did it. So fair play to the lad. Richie, just give us that, please, bro. Just give us that. Just effort and application, because you make an enormous difference to the team. I thought he was outstanding today. Fair play to the kid.
It was. It goes back to what I said earlier, Miles. I think this is where Frank should get some credit, because he has rotated very well in the last few games. A lot of people were criticising from leaving Mickey on the bench. Started keeping on sounding like that Newcastle game. It wasn't a great first half. A lot of a better second half display in this game. Again, Mickey coming into the team, Richarlison playing again. I think also bear that in mind. Again, Richarlison's at some moment. I'm sorry to put knockers on it now, guys. That means we'll probably allow another injury now. But he has been fairly injury-free. I mean, people have been moaning about his effort and application, but I keep on saying, again, look at his record now. 4 goals in 6 games. I mean, you can't knock that. And I think a lot of people say this with Richarlison. If he is fit, he does tend to score goals, no matter what you think about his performances. I mean, Miles, talk us through that first goal, because it was, as someone was saying, if we scored that goal a few years ago, you give credit for that. It was a really lovely move, wasn't it? The way Spurs, really went about it. Went about it really nicely.
Yeah, Porro's pass, though, bloody incredible. To get it where, this is why, we've been moaning at Porro for the last few weeks, going, he needs to be rested, because actually when he can put a ball in over the, I can't remember, I think it was over whoever's head it was of the Brentford player, but to put it in the path of Xavi Simons, who's running onto it, was stuff that we've been asking for basically the whole season. And Xavi just perfectly waited to Richarlison. And all of us at that one point thought Richarlison was going to shank it. We'll all be honest. Come on, we have to be. We all thought he was going to shank it. He didn't. He put it in the net. But credit to him, at the present moment, because you're absolutely spot on. Where he has scored how many goals in the last few games, and we've kind of just got to accept it. We know what we're going to get with Richarlison. Yes, he's not the sort of player that we want to see up top. I think that's what it is. He's not our cup of tea. We've watched Harry Kane for the last how many years, and Richarlison is a massive downgrade. But if all he can do, and if he wants to stay in his team, is put that ball in the back of the net. And he's doing that at this present moment. But he's got to be consistently doing that, where he goes, he can't have purple patches. He needs to be doing it. If he goes 3 games with goal and then suddenly he's not, he needs to be doing something else in the game. And I think that's where our biggest concerns are, because when he's not scoring, he's not actually doing anything. But if he's scoring goals, I'm happy for him to be there. But I thought, like I said earlier in the early segment, I think what helped him today was that Mawani wasn't in his space. So he had the whole of the up top to be his own, where him and Mawani have kind of been playing together. especially in Europe. It's worked in Europe, but I feel like in the Premier League, they kind of just got in each other's way. But today, it was kind of Mawani knew he was on the left, and he Mawani's movement was great. It wasn't the best, but it was good enough, because between him and Spence as well, the way they played together, and then the way Porro played with Kudos, and then Richarlison was linking up with them, it's kind of stuff we've been asking for weeks. But Xavi Simons as well to throw into that. I just think I think what we saw today, and think what we've all been asking for, it was the most balanced lineup that we've probably seen all season.
Agree.
And when we saw the lineup, I think a lot of people was trying to work out who was going to play where. But as soon as we saw Mawani on the left, and we saw Richarlison playing up front by himself, and then Xavi Simons was playing that number 10 role and wasn't stuck on the left, and we just saw an improvement. I think everyone was I think Russ said it earlier in his early segment. Everyone was comfortable in their roles, so it worked. And this is what he's got to do. And just going back to your question about his rotation, I think he's done it well in the last 2 games because he hasn't made massive rotations. When the games before, when he was rotating, I think they were too much and having a detriment to the playing 11. Where today, Kudos played today and he played on Tuesday. Richarlison, Mawani, most of them technically did play. And having Van der Ven out on Tuesday, yes, he was probably close to the line of doing his hamstring.
Yep.
And I think we said on Tuesday, we understood it. We got it. We just got it at that precise moment, and it's worked out for us today, where Brentford they said they couldn't match Arsenal on Tuesday and thought they'd have a better chance against Spurs today. They probably should have done it the other way around.
And that's also what's interesting, Miles, on that point. Brentford, I think, rested 5 or 6 of their key first-team players for this game. So Keith Andrews really, really did want to do a number. So it didn't work out for him. Just a couple of other Richarlison stats. Again, thanks so much to the viewers and listeners for bringing these into play. King Huddle says here, 8 goals and 8 GAs in 14 games with Richie. A really good return rate there. And Ian Brooker Spurs says, Ian, thanks for this. Richie is now 17 goals in his last 24 Premier League starts. If we keep putting those kind of stats up, we'll definitely get rid of him in January. So let's hope we bring somebody else in. That'll be such Tottenham. We've sat here about Richarlison for the last 2-3 years. No one suppose we'll sell him and bring someone else crap in. So look, let's hope that's not going to be the case. Like I said, the great thing about it was that was Spurs' first shot on target in the first half of a Premier League game in 5 weeks. Crazy. 5 weeks just to reward for it. Romero, he went in with a bit of a wild challenge on Igor Thiago. Keep an eye on Romero. If Romero receives 3 yellow cards in Spurs' next 17 league matches, he'll be issued a 2-match ban for yellow card accumulation, which, to be fair, on that basis, 3 yellows in the next 17 league games, that looks highly probable. And I know we've said Romero's a lot more calmed down than what he has been the last few years. Again, a bit of a wild challenge there against Igor Thiago in that Brentford game. So keep an eye on that. But look, let's talk about Xavi Simons. We had Xavi Simons liftoff coming over to Russ Williams because Xavi did double our lead. At last, a debut goal, a fabulous one at that. 14 games to crack it. And what's funny about this is that Xavi actually gave away the ball in the build-up, won it back, carried it half the length of the pitch, less about the Brentford defending, and angled a shot in the bottom corner for his first goal in a Spurs shirt. Great moment, Russ, wasn't it? A lovely moment for him.
Yeah, no, tremendous. And it was great that you pointed out that he actually lost the ball, then got it back and then ran with it. And, we haven't seen that since the days of peak Sonny, I don't think, on a regular basis. So, I was very, very pleased for him because he's had a lot of people questioning whether he's the sort of player we should have signed, whether he would ever be able to play in the Premier League. Look, we got to temper it that it was Brentford. This wasn't against one of the so-called bigger teams. But this is going to do his confidence huge, huge benefit, I think, because he'd already done an assist. He was very, very tidy on the ball, did some really good, not simple stuff. But that finish was excellent. It was, Holland class, Leipzig class. We've seen him do it. And there he is, the familiar pose, standing on top of the hoardings. It'd be just his luck to get injured doing that for Spurs, but he didn't. And, I just think it was a great day for him, and he'll sleep well tonight because I reckon he probably, they're human beings, players.
Of course,
and people have been questioning him, and I think he he would have been thinking, maybe I might not be able to make it in this Premier League for a fleeting second. But I think we all know he can. You've just got to play to his strengths.
Yep.
Play him in the position where he can do the most damage. He's a talented, skillful player, number 10.
Agree, Russ. Agree. Coming over to you, TJ, we can on him. You know, like we said, a really, really good display for him. And like I said, snapped into not one, but 2 tackles and drove with the ball from inside his half in the build-up to the goal. I think a lot of fans will be asking the question, and we're asking the question beforehand, that if you've got a genuine number 10, you've got an attacker, and a team is struggling at home to create, let alone score chances, he's got to keep giving it a go, hasn't he? You know, it's mad to think, he's had a 4-game wait to get to the point of starting again, like I said earlier in the show, after building on the displays against Copenhagen, Manchester United. I mean, there will be a clamouring now, won't there, for Xavi Simons to start week in, week out. When you see his ability, scoring a goal, creating another one, there's going to be that clamour there, T, isn't there now?
Yes, there is. However, again, it's a symbiotic relationship, right? You know, all of us have said, I think completely justifiably, it's not like he hit the ground running. You know, let's be honest.
No, that's fair.
And also, we've also talked about this before. I certainly have. Football is a game where you can hide. You can hide on the pitch. I've often called, again, something that I don't accept, especially at the professional level, you know, not for this club that I hold so dear, is that every player has to take responsibility. I remember being on a show, I think it was probably with you, Miles, a couple of months ago, and just saying, you know, I want him to show a bit more for the ball. It was you, wasn't it, bro? And then Miles was saying that's not how he plays, more of a central player, and, you know, drifts in and out, stuff like that. And again, I take the education, you know, I don't know him like you do. I did see him making his presence known. He wasn't dropping deep like Madders does, but he didn't really need to, but he was always available. And again, the effort and the agility and the application that he showed, the fact that he lost the ball and then got it back and then scored, that's what we want and need. Again, if it's not firing, like if your technical skills are a little bit off, your passing a little bit off, your effort, that's just a decision that you make. You can make that, I've said this before, you can make that the night before, an hour before the game, the week before the game, whatever. You give yourself 100% every single time. You tell yourself that in your mind, and you don't accept it from yourself to ever drop from that level. And so the fact that he took responsibility today, I don't think that it's a coincidence either that Thomas Frank has said he's looked electric in training this week. I think something mentally has shifted in his young mind. He's 22 years old. Again, I've said many times on this show, I couldn't find my own arse with both hands until I was about 26. So he's a young man. But something happened today where it was a combination of the manager not being so negative and not being so defensive, saying to this group of players, go out there and express yourselves, enjoy yourselves. Harry Redknapp would always talk about how the pleasure, the enjoyment of the game yields results. Not to go too off-piste, but I remember, I don't know what I was doing watching this. I was watching a documentary about the Scandinavian schooling system, and like why they produced such well-rounded, well-educated people generally. And I remember somebody talking to the Finnish Minister of Education, and basically he summed it up, and it was such a Finnish Scandinavian thing to say. They said, why are your kids, why do they all perform so well? And he simply said, when they are happy, they learn. And I think that when footballers are happy, they perform. And he looked happy today and he performed. Fair play to the kid.
Spot on, Miles. It's interesting you make that point. And we said this, haven't we, Miles, that Frank has seemed really reluctant to trust him, especially against top-tier opposition. You look at the fact, especially read PSG, Arsenal, Chelsea. Don't forget, actually, he subbed the sub, didn't he? He came on as a sub against Chelsea. He subbed him as well. But before the game, actually, against Brentford, he compared him, Frank, to Mikkel Damsgaard. He said, look, needs a bit of time to acclimatise. And, that adaptation might be taking longer than anyone would like it to or want it to. But the reality is that on the back of that display there, you've just seen what he's capable of. And I go back to what I said earlier now. There will be a feeling that Tottenham look a better side going forward when Xavi Simons is in the team, Miles.
Yeah, and it's quite weird because I was going to mention exactly what TJ said when we said at the beginning of the season about
the Scandinavian schooling system.
Yeah, I know. So we get educated on this show as well. Yeah, we don't get just Spurs educated. No, but going back to the Xavi Simons part, I think what's happened was, I think Frank probably saw. Look, I'm gonna say it, he saw that episode and heard what I said and actually said, what TJ is saying is exactly what needed to happen with Xavi Simons. He needs to come slightly deeper to pick up that ball. And what you've seen over the last few weeks, and I think we saw it against PSG, where he was so much better when he dropped just 2 yards. It was just 2 yards deeper to pick up the ball and drive. And once he starts doing that, you can tell that he's actually starting to feel more comfortable in the ball and starting to feel more comfortable in this team. And I think that's kind of what Frank's been trying to get out of him. And that's why we saw the goal we did today where he's won the ball back. But look where he's picked it up from. He hasn't picked it up from a number 10 role. He's actually picked it up from a central midfielder role where they were more close to the defence and run with the ball. And this is what this is probably what Frank's been asking for. And they're trying to make him, and like TJ said, they have to keep him happy. If you've got happy players, you've got a happy squad, happy team, and they are more likely to perform, no matter who they are. Even Richarlison's the prime example of that. A happy Richarlison, you're gonna get more out of him. So for me at the moment, I think that's what Frank's trying to do, is trying to keep these boys happy. And I think it's gonna sound really weird, but I think Frank defending Vicario last week, the players have gone, this manager's with us. Let's start. You know what? He's going to protect us no matter what, no matter if it's against the fans, what they're saying. And we all went against and said he should have saved it. But maybe this is the blessing in disguise that will move this club forward. And the players are starting to think, this is the manager I want to play for. Because if the fans are going against me, he's going to protect me in that media. And actually, a lot of them have seen that and gone. To be fair, we saw a performance against Newcastle, no matter how much it was
second half,
and then we've seen a good performance today at home where the trouble would happen. We've been waiting for this game, and even he said today, look, he's praised the Spurs fans, but he still stands by what he said with Vicario. So let's see how the next few weeks go, because we were all starting to question, are these players playing for him? But now, the last 2 games, I'm sitting there going, actually, you're starting to see these players think, I trust what this manager's saying. Let's see if this carries on.
That's about as positive you've ever been, Miles, on this show. Go on, Russ. Come in here.
Go away.
Well, it was just a point of order, Ricky, really, because TJ, his brilliant point there about education. Just a very, very small point. Finland isn't in Scandinavia. Scandinavia is Iceland, Norway, Sweden, and Denmark.
Is that right? There's a difference.
Finland is an outlier. 32 cases to every verb. I've lived there.
How fascinating.
And it's a beautiful country. And the Swedes call them the Russians.
Is that right? Well, I know they share a border.
They're not Scandinavians, but listen, 1 or 2 people pointed it out.
Fascinating. Thank you. I appreciate the education. I know they have an open border.
Every day is a school day.
Yeah, well, it is. So you learn something on this show all the time. Of course, we have a Scandinavian manager in Thomas Frank.
Of course.
So lovely country, Finland, actually. Beautiful beer. Beautiful. Anyway, what were you asking me, Rick, before I went off on a tangent?
Let's come back on that point now. Do you think Xavi Simons is going to get a bit of a run in the team? You know, we keep talking about the fact that
he has to. Yeah. He absolutely has to. Yes, because what's the point otherwise?
Well,
I mean, you can see today by his performance that he was full of confidence. He was starting in a position he wants to play in, that he feels he wants to play in. So, the long and the short of it is, why on earth would you buy him and hardly play him unless he's injured?
Yeah,
I mean, you wouldn't. He's got magic in his feet, and we've seen a bit of it today. And every game that goes by, he's going to feel more and more confident. His teammates are going to know exactly what he's going to do most of the time, and I think we'll play better.
Yeah. Look, we're going to hear.
Who trusts Grok? Trust me.
We could be going to a completely different debate.
The man who lived there, who's right there.
It's Nordic. If it's Nordic, okay. Yeah. Finland is Nordic. God, I've opened up a right.
What have we started here? Look, we're going to go for our next break of the show. Let's hear from the goal scorer and also assistman who's had a great day in the Spurs shirt. As he got lift off, let's hear from Xavi Simons.
Xavi, congratulations. Brilliant performance there. A great team performance, a brilliant personal performance. Just tell me how special it is to score that goal, to stand in front of that stand and soak in the support of the fans.
Yeah, I think it has been tough weeks for the team in general, and coming here today knowing the importance of the game, yeah. Really happy that we took the 3 points and obviously that I could score as well.
One of the first things you said to us when you signed for the club, it wasn't just going to be about goals and assists, but about hard work as well. How hard did the team work today?
Yeah, I think today you could see how important it was for us today to, especially in front of the fans, bringing that 3 points was really important today for us. And we worked as a team together, and as well with the ball, I think was really good.
Xavi, we were talking before the game and we said sometimes it just takes a moment. Just takes a moment to launch a career here. Do you think that was your moment?
Yeah, I think maybe it's the start from something beautiful that's coming. Obviously, when I signed here, I really already had that in my head, but things happen in life and you have to go through it, and that's what happened. So really happy in this moment.
And that goal was just about all about you in terms of this is what you bring to a game. You win the 50-50, you get the ball back, you win another 50-50, then you take off, then you've got the really cool finish. All of your game in one goal, that was?
Yeah, as I say, they always told me, especially in Spain, with the ball is all good, but after that you have to be aggressive and try to win the balls, and that's what I tried today, so really happy.
Tell me a little bit about the physicality of the Premier League. It looks like you're up to the speed of it. How do you feel you're dealing with the intensity?
Yeah, I think you have to, obviously you have to deal with it, but as well you have to get the rhythm of games, playing a lot of minutes, and then it will take in a good shape. Especially, obviously, with the ball, I think the Premier League is another level above every league with respect, but physically as well is really high.
Xavi, we were looking at clips before the game, and you would beat a player, and then you're on the floor. Beat a player, foul. Beat a player, foul. We can look at your legs today. Look, they won't give you an inch out here, will they?
No, especially in the Premier League, they let her play a lot more than other leagues. So it's part of the game, I would say.
Here at Spurs, Xavi, we've a history of playmakers that people love to watch. It felt like today, from moment one, the fans couldn't wait to see you out there. They were buzzing with every single one of your touches. I wondered how much you feel that on the pitch, because we saw you after maybe 15, 20 minutes just give the crowd a bit of a boost. Do you feel that admiration from them?
Yeah, if I'm honest, I always feel that. Obviously, as I told you many times, you want to perform always, but I think the most important thing for me is the daily basis. I'm a guy that have a lot of dedication, and I know what I want to achieve in my career. So every day I'm putting that work, and I knew obviously that the day would come, and I think today is a beautiful start for everyone.
So that was Xavi Simons there. Has he got lift off in his Tottenham career? Goal for Xavi Simons, thanks to over the nearly 5,500 that are watching the show with us here. I know he started a completely different debate, actually, other than football, in the last before that break of the show. No problem at all, Russ. No problem at all. You keep us going. Sometimes it's good to talk about other sports on here other than Tottenham, or in general in life. Yeah. Let's hope we don't have to do it too much this season. We're joined by Broadcaster Russ Williams. We're joined by actor TJ Ramini. We're joined by Marlon over at Spurs Kings TV. Guys, keep liking, hyping, subscribing to the show. There you go. Boy and Xavi Simons on the back of his display, of course, against Brentford. I want to ask you guys about Archie Gray. Marlon, we'll start with you. You mentioned Archie Gray, one of his better or best performances so far in a Spurs shirt. Really good display from him. And like I said earlier, that whilst there'll be a clamour for, of course, Xavi Simons to start, they also might start a clamour now, Miles, for Archie Gray to start, because I think, for a lot of people out there, he does provide that balance. There's an intelligence in and out of possession. He has the technical and also the physical element to his game that you want from a midfielder. And I think the last few displays, you'd say, he's arguably a 7 out of 10. And he started 3 of Tottenham's last 4 games in all competition. And that's after barely featuring this season. So is he becoming one of Frank's favourites, Miles?
Well, that's a question, Ricky. Look, at home, I think it works.
Okay.
I think it does work because we're more likely to be on the ball. I still think away from home, he shies away a little bit. And the game kind of drifts him by. But I can see potential where people are looking at it going. I think there was a comment earlier, and I want to give the person credit for whoever said it. So if they can say that you're looking at it needs to be Benson, or Paulinho. Then the next person next to them needs to be either Sarr, Bergvall, or Gray. And then it's Xavi. And then when Kulu and Maddison come back, that's where they fit in. So you're not having to try and mix and match, because that sets the tone of that midfield. But for me right now, when I look at the home games, yes, Gray probably would be my first choice. But when I look at it long term, I think it's Bergvall's spot to win back, because he's just there's a bit more about him than with him and Sarr when it comes down to it. But that's just me. But at the present moment, would I expect him to start next week against Forest? I probably do.
Okay, fine. I will just let the people know in the comments that we are aware of an incident involving Yves Bissouma, and we'll update everybody with regards to that incident at the end of the show. Tej, I'll come over to you. Look, sticking on Archie Gray, there's an argument that he's actually benefiting from playing more regularly in that midfield. I think it's the first time since he moved to Spurs from Leeds that he started, 3 of the last 4 games, for example. I think unless you do look at last season, the element of when he was being picked, but also not in the right position. I think from what we can see now, most certainly, he looks like a midfielder rather than a centre-back, right? That's not doing down his performances last season. Again, he was put in there in difficult circumstances. But what I would say, and keen to get your thoughts on it, Tej, it looks like he's growing in confidence and certainly becoming more important to Frank's plans. I don't think it can be a coincidence, given that he started both of the home victories in the league for Tottenham, and also you take into account and just a lot more how he's featuring now, Tej, for you. Archie Gray.
Absolutely. And, to give him his plaudits last season, which, again, I think all of us did. A really young man being played in positions that he'd never done before. Left back, right back, centre back. I mean, at the age of what was he, 19? Something like that last season. I mean, and so what I really like about Gray, I think Miles is spot on with his appraisal of where they are, probably physically and technically right now. I agree. I just think Bergvall is a little stronger physically. He's got a tremendous ability to kind of use his, let's say, lower body to great effect to bump other players off the ball. Obviously, Archie Gray is a slender, young chap and has got some bulking up to do, and he's going to do it. Look at him, bless his heart. He looks like my paper boy. He's only a kid, isn't he? But what he does have is he's got tremendous mentality and tremendous self-belief. And that is, again, something that's a decision. It's a purely mental thing. And so I have enormous respect for this boy. I really, really like him. Obviously, he comes from a footballing family. I'm a great admirer of the Scots anyway. My mother-in-law is a Scot, so I sort of have to say that, but it's true as well. And wherever you put him, he's going to show for the ball. He's going to call for the ball. He's going to want for the ball. I was just talking about how it is possible to hide on a football pitch. Shall I call him? Okay, maybe not calling him out, but Odebear, for example, doesn't show for the ball as much as he should, doesn't call for the ball as much as he should. You're never going to get that with Archie Gray. Wherever you put the kid, you could say, I think you're going to start in goal this week, and he'd say, yes, boss. And he'd call for the ball and make saves. And I really like him a lot. And so what I love about this question and this debate is at last we are having what they call champagne problems discussion about who is the better player to start in there. Is it Sarr, is it Gray, or is it Bergvall? In my estimation, 3 terrifically talented young players. And so I'm delighted that they are giving the manager a decision to make. I thought he was outstanding today. And again, tremendous mentality. If he's on the bench forever, he stays sharp and all, we know all this stuff, right, about the game. But of course, applying that as a young man at a professional level at a quote unquote big club, it takes tremendous mental fortitude. Fair play to the kid. Him and his family should be very proud. And we as a Tottenham fan base should be very, very proud and pleased to have him. We need to look after this boy, because I agree with Brother Russ. I think he has a tremendous trajectory in the right direction.
Just to close us with you on Gray, I know I'm just conscious of time. We've got a little bit to squeeze in here. he doesn't really try to think too crazy in possession. He doesn't really need to. He moves the ball quickly.
He's got
sharply.
no time to do it, Rick.
No.
You know,
No,
what I
you're
mean?
right.
Like
You're right.
People who don't know the game. Sorry to interrupt you.
No, you're fine.
People who don't really know the game, perhaps. Again, I'm not saying that people don't or whatever. If you're not sure of what it is that he does, if he doesn't do what he does really tidily and doesn't make a mistake, they're
You're
through
right.
on goal.
Spot on.
When you play centrally in the midfield, if you make a mistake, you've got no time to do it. They're through on goal. And to your point, they had no shot. Well, they had like one shot, two shots, something like that, right?
No, you're
Sorry
right.
to interrupt you.
No, you're fine,
That's
man.
what he does.
It goes back to what you just said there, coming over to Russ, is that he's so alert, Russ, isn't he, to the danger. You know, he's good at making interceptions. He drive past opponent. You know, again, I make the point. He's had to wait to be patient for his chance, but it does feel now, under Frank, he's giving him a conundrum to make, which is a good conundrum, right?
Well, it is. I mean, look, we're very lucky to have two 19-year-old lads, Gray and Bergvall, you know, in our squad. And you know, I've got to be honest with you, Bergvall, which is how his name is said in Swedish. I'm going for him because my mother-in-law is Swedish. So we'll have a competition, TJ. But I just think he's got slightly more than Archie Gray.
It'll be on Netflix. Pay-per-view.
They're both very talented.
The Logan Paul will promote it.
Yeah, they are both very talented. I just think that Lucas has just got the edge in terms of offensive play and physically. And what I love about Lucas is he's positive with the ball. Whenever he gets, he's looking to go forward. Time and time again.
Yeah, agree. Look, it's not often we go into half time out there being boos at home, but there was big cheers actually as the players gathered themselves in a huddle to walk off the pitch. I know people are making what they want to make about this whole huddle thing. That if that is working for them at the moment, let them get on with it, I guess, for now. We can revisit that on a different day when maybe things aren't as great, but they're good today. Look, they've won the game. They've gone on a huddle at half-time. Very good 45 minutes. They were cheered off to the rafters at half-time. Second half, again, that kind of response carried on from Tottenham. Jed Spence's on an opportunity. We had Polina replace Bentancur. To Bentancur's credit, I thought he started the game quite well. There's a couple of loose bits, you know, of control, but, you know, again, had a good game and was really improving as the game went on. Polina, to be fair to him, straight into the action. As we've seen in Polina, big challenges. There were progressive passes. All I think I would say with Polina to go back to at the start of the show, I just don't think you need, as we keep on saying, Polina and Bentancur at home. You just don't need it. And I think Gray gives you that other option to discuss now, along with Bergvall too. Romero, to be fair to him, he made a great tackle to stop Thiago going right through on goal. Mikkel Dam's goal was withdrawn on the hour mark for Brentford. That maybe gave you an indication that really things weren't really working for them during the game. Odebear replaced Kalamawani, who's put a shift in again in that game. Reminder, Kalamawani did limp through the mix zone. Not a good sign for him. Was left the field looking quite gingerly. So keep an eye on that. You know, the poor bloke, since he's been here, fractured his jaw. Now walking off with another injury. I mean, this guy must absolutely hate Tottenham. He's only been here a couple of months. I mean, we're not really doing the best to convince him this is worth a long-term stay, are we? Bloke was never injured before this as well. Can't really make it up. Spurs, they had the ball in the net again, courtesy of Mohamed Kudus, but it was disallowed for offside. A really good finish from Kudus. And to be fair, I know, again, I've seen a lot of mixed reviews on Kudus, but I thought he had a really good game. You know, he was beating his man constantly up against him. You know, a little bit of showboating that got actually Romero really wound up. Romero reminding him, don't be doing that here. But again, I thought it was a decent performance. And, you know, with Kudus, he had such a good start to the season. We want to see him build on that. We most certainly do. Sarr and Danzo replaced Kudus and Romero, respectively. Sarr had a shot saved from Spence's cross. And look, I think the frustration would be, boys, is that, to be honest with you, Miles, could have been 4 or 5, right? It was a game that really, if it ended 4-0 or 5-0, it wouldn't be a harsh scoreline. Spurs really dominated the encounter, Miles.
Yeah, no, and that's the thing. Like 2-0 probably flattened the result a little bit because that's how well we did play today. Like if it finished 3 or 4, I think a lot of us would have been going, it was a 3 or 4 game. Like it's unfortunate that it was Odebear that was offside for Kudus' goal.
Yes, I believe so. Yes.
So
right.
it was unfortunate because it was a great finish, and just seeing the chair on his head, I was like, "Oh, come on, give him his moment." But no, but all said and done, yeah, that is how good the performance was today. Like I think the biggest concern for a lot of us and a lot of people that are going to watch this back, we're not overhyping the performance. It's just that we've seen a performance today that a lot of us Spurs fans can say, this is where we want to be. This should be the standard. And this is where we want to start moving forward with this. because the players have now shown they can do it. And that's the biggest now thing, because they weren't showing it before. They've shown us, now keep it up. And I think that's the big thing that we have to take from this. And we want to see it with, in every Premier League game. I'm not going to talk about Champions Leagues because that's slightly different for me. You have to play different football in Europe. But for Premier League games, you've now set the standard. You've shown us.
Yep.
Just keep it up.
Totally agree. Yeah, totally agree. Like I say, for Tottenham, a really good performance and one that hopefully you feel is going to hopefully spur us on, pardon the pun, to a decent run to come. Now, look, we have to bring you over some news that, look, I don't really want to report, but many might not be surprised by this, unfortunately, because Yves Bissouma has had a bit of a difficult time during his Spurs spell here. It doesn't get any easier for him or better for him, really. For those that are unaware of this, Yves Bissouma potentially faces the axe to maybe be leaving Spurs on a permanent basis after being filmed inhaling laughing gas again. Tottenham said they have launched a probe after footage emerged of Yves Bissouma using nitrous oxide balloon at a party last month. Bissouma was suspended for one match by Spurs for a similar incident last year, but is now facing the prospect of further tougher disciplinary action. I mean, listen, once is bad enough. Twice to do it, I think the guy's got, less than probably 6 months left now on his Spurs contract. I mean, look, it's not a thing you really want to end the show on, but I guess, Miles, coming to you first, do you think that's probably it now for Bissouma? I mean, again, it was unlikely he was going to be playing before the end of the year anyway because he had a knock, but you'd be stunned now, wouldn't you, if you see him again in the Tottenham shirt?
Yeah, I thought it was done ages ago, like from when Frank, was it the no dickhead policy you kept quoting in the summer?
Yep.
That's standard, and I think he's from what people are saying, his social media's got nothing Spurs on it. No. And if I'm correctly mistaken, and I might be wrong, the training video that came out of him this week, he was in a Fenerbahce shirt?
Fenerbahce shirt,
yeah. So which he was linked with last summer. So to be fair, I think that deal's probably done, and we're just going to wait till January and send him off there. So for me, non-story, let him go and do what he's going to do, because I don't think I'm ever going to see him in Spurs shirt again, and I don't really care. If I'm being honest, he can go do what he likes now.
Yeah, I mean, Russ, coming to you on that. I mean, look, bless you, you've been around the football industry for so many years, around players, managers. I mean, that pretty much is the end now, isn't it? I presume in terms of a career in the Premier League. I mean, very hard to see how he comes back from that. And the fact of the matter is, to be caught with it once, but then twice. I mean, how do you legislate for that?
If true, I think, I'm always skeptical about pictures and what have you. I want to find out a little bit more about the story, but he won't be the first footballer, if he does, find himself for the high jump, who's done silly things, and there'll be other ones as well. It just would be disappointing that if it did end that way, somebody, when I remember being on this podcast, what we're talking a couple of years ago now, after the summer transfer window, we were all jumping up and down saying what a great player he was at Brighton, what an asset he was going to be to Tottenham, and it just hasn't worked out that way. No. Maybe he's got an attitude problem. Some of his behaviour is a little bit strange, like the Fenerbahce shirt and what have you. Yeah, I mean, this is a very public profession, and it's just disappointing that the story is even out there, let alone whether it's true or not. And the club won't be happy. And I think Marlon summed it up probably what's going to happen anyway.
Yeah, it comes teased over to you on the back of a week where, again, he was making the headlines for, you'd arguably say, all the wrong reasons, because he's deleted all of his Tottenham Hotspur related posts from his Instagram page. Now, look, as a player, I mean, look, you can do what you want. It's his personal Instagram, right? If he wants Tottenham content on there or doesn't want Tottenham content on there, it's entirely up to him. But just not a good look, is it? If this story is ending up being found to be true, just not good for the player, not good for the club, not good for anybody. Again, we're not sure where he is in terms of his mental health state. Again, that's a completely separate subject, and we wish him all the best mentally, right? But it's a really, really sad story. It doesn't really need to have happened if it's true.
No, not really. I mean, listen, I think you've summed it up perfectly, and I don't think we need to talk about it too much. It is very public. Like Russ said, everything that these boys do is going to end up, all over the internet. Yeah. And so I hope him and himself, just as a person, he's all right, and he's got good people around him who can steer him in the right direction. If he doesn't want to play football for our club anymore, that's absolutely fine. Yeah. If he wants to abuse his body, obviously that's his choice. It's his body, but of course, none of us would advise or condone that. Football is a very short career. It's a young man's game. And so I just hope that he's looking after himself. Perhaps these photos are not what they immediately appear to be. But, we won a football match today. I don't think we need to spend any more time talking about that.
No, agree. Look,
just saying on the positive, just before we go, if there's anything to go by, like if he has done whatever, and it was the last time we see him in a Spurs shirt, I just want to say he was absolutely brilliant in the Europa League final.
100%. He wouldn't have won that trophy last season.
No matter all the performances that he's been pouring, that was the one that we'll all remember, and he was brilliant that day. If it is the last time we see him in a Spurs shirt, good luck to him.
Yeah, Mars, thank you so much for that. Obviously, guys, for Tottenham, it's been a really, really good result, good weekend in terms of the fact that we've seen Arsenal get beat, Spurs have won. We've put ourselves in a position now again, for those that are unaware, in terms of the league table now, Spurs find themselves only 3-4 points off the current top four. So Spurs in a good position where, look, they can string together a couple of wins. Over the Christmas period, we're right back up there. That just really shows you how this league is so inconsistent right now that a couple of wins can take you up. Also, a couple of defeats can take you down. But let's hope for Tottenham they can build on that with, of course, Slavia Prague on the Tuesday. One thing I do need to end it on, I know, Miles, you wanted to end on a positive, and I'm sorry, we won't be able to end it on a positive on this aspect of the matter. There is a chap who's been a long-term viewer listener out there, Mark Fawkes, huge Spurs fan, long-time viewer listener to Last Word on Spurs, that got in touch with TJ in the last few days or so. He had a son called Jack, who he's tragically lost in very, very sad circumstances. A young man. I know, TJ, you want to just say a couple of words on that? Because, look, doesn't matter if he was a listener, viewer, lover to Last Word on Spurs, or lover or anything. It's a sad, sad day or sad, sad time when you hear these stories of, a father losing a son at such a young age. I know, of course, all of us here want to send our respects, our sympathies, our well wishes to Mark and his family. I'll let you come back on that, Teach, for you.
Thank you so much, Rick. Yeah, Mark Fawkes, a lovely man, Tottenham guy through and through, long-time fan of the show, and used to watch with his son, Jack. And Jack tragically passed away a month before his 18th birthday. And I spoke to Mark today before coming on the show and said, would you like me to mention it? Because in times of hardship, in times of struggle, I talked right at the top of the show about this beautiful Tottenham community that we're all a part of. I was so touched when I was back in town for the final, and I met so many wonderful people at the parade and was shown so much love, and it really meant the world to me. So let's send as much love and positivity and support to Mark and to his family. Losing a boy at 18 years old and then having to sit down with his 6-year-old son and explaining that your brother is not coming back. A terrible situation for him to be in. Yeah. Listen, a wonderful result today. We're all in good spirit, good mood. So let's send some of that positivity to Mark and to his family. And to Jack, rest in peace, young man. And you'll be reunited with your family one day. I believe that. Thank you so much, Rick, for taking the time. Community, let's send Mark and his family some love. Thank you.
Yep. Tish, thank you so much. Boys, thank you so much. That's a big week for Spurs in store. Yep. Slavia Prague, of course, on the Tuesday, followed by Forest on the Sunday. But an opportunity now, Russ, to close on this point, to build on the good results we've had, right? 4 points out the last two. Chance to build.
Yes. Champions League next. Win. Then next weekend in the Premier League, we go again. And he's, excuse me, he's the manager. Has spent, a bit of time, I'm sure, after some dodgy results with various players, garnering opinion, doing things in training. And hopefully what we saw today was the beginnings of a system that 9 times out of 10 Tottenham Hotspur can play, rather than, rather sort of frightened defensive football, which none of us want to see. We don't, as we've always said on this podcast, if we play brilliantly and we happen to lose a game, as long as we played in the right way, we can take it. We'll be disappointed, but we can take it. And it's all about mentality and planning and faith. I think the players have got to have faith in him, what he wants to do, and faith in their own abilities. And this week, I think it will be a good week.
Let's hope, fingers crossed. Let's hope, fingers crossed. Listen, from us all here over at Last Word on Spurs, thank you ever so much for all your, like I say, love for the show. We greatly appreciate it. We're going into a bit of a tricky, crazy Christmas period right now. For many people out there, it's not an easy month. I will just say that. I know, again, November, December are never easy months for people out there that, again, are, some people find themselves on their own. I know how much this show does mean to a lot of people. I get messaged and told that a lot of the time, that we'll be here for as much as we can and we'll help and support everyone through it. Miles, thank you so much. Tej, thank you. Russ, thank you so much. Look, we have been the last word on Spurs. Let's see what Spurs have got coming up. Let's hope they continue this good feeling. From Miles, from Russ, from Tej, from me, we've been the last word on Spurs. Keep safe, keep well. And as always, come on, you Spurs.